Good evening. I am Purba Bhattacharya. I am the Chief Operating Officer for People Connect and Think Equal. And today we are here with the team of Wit Ignite, the team that managed one of the largest career fair of Asia, where we saw a footfall of more than 30,000 candidates, and it was one of its kind career fair where it was meant only for women in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics streams. We saw participation from over 40 industry leaders in the domains of technology, from FMCG, from research development, from the telecom stream, some of the fintech companies, as well as some of the startup unicorns. So you must be wondering why you should stick around and hear us. I would say that we're going to have a very interesting discussion today here with the team that was behind the scene and managed to interact and pull through this huge career fair, which kind of spanned through 7 to 8 weeks, and it is one of its kind in that sense as well, because most of the career fairs that we see are mostly of 1 or 2 days. Here, the team had worked through 8 weeks to address one of the most critical aspect of supply side for gender diverse talent into the industry. So I'll not take much time, and let me bring on the team here. Firstly, I would introduce and ask my colleague Aniruddha to join in. Aniruddha.
Hi, Purba.
Hi,
Thank you so much
Aniruddha.
for having me
Is,
here.
hi. Aniruddha is the Chief Business Officer with Women in Technology. And Women in Technology, along with Think Equal, we hosted this magnificent career fair. And I'll bring in Aniruddha to give his insights, because he was the key person spearheading and the industry connect with most of the clients that we got onto the platform and the employers. Next, I would call in Meeta Srivastava. Meeta, please join in.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Hi. Meeta was the force behind mobilizing this 30,000 strong candidate to footfall into the career fair. She is the head of talent acquisition with Women in Technologies. And we had a very interesting 2 months hustle and huddle. And we are going to discuss all of that starting now. So, Anirudh, to begin with, how did this ignite, the entire conceptualization of ignite? Why ignite? And I remember it was early August that we all started discussing about this career fair. So, what went through in the entire inception of this career fair? Can you just throw some light as to what was happening then? What was the discussions with the industry leaders that you were having, and why such a fair, and why now?
Yeah, thanks so much, Purba. Yes, indeed, Wit Ignite in partnership, with Think Equal was truly one of its kind. And the primary driver behind this, if you ask me, was the drop and the continuous drop in the employment levels of women in the industry. So if you ask me what was the primary driver and the primary reason, that was very, very clearly the primary driver and the reason. But this was not all. There were really many angles and sort of shades to this whole thing. The other thing was we had conducted a one of its kind curated conference called the Wit Spark a little while earlier, towards the end of June and early July, actually. And at that point in time, and probably even before that, one of our key chapters who we operate with, the Hyderabad chapter, many of the companies who belong to the Hyderabad chapter, they were actually exploring and talking to us about the need of attracting returnee women, right? So the women who have sort of taken a break, and they also, with the falling numbers of women, thought that this is probably one great opportunity and one great sort of message, okay, if I may say, to give to the women and say that, we will take you back so long as, you have the wherewithal and the interest to come back to work. So, and of course, as I said, the huge success of WITSpark. So a combination of factors, right, led, as I said, the primary driver, of course, being the fact that there were clearly depleting levels of women, and that was happening because of a variety of reasons, right? There were articles in the Mint and several other leading Indian newspapers, including Economic Times, which highlighted this aspect, and it was dropping by the month. And it was not as though that companies were laying off people. Sure, there were some companies who had to sort of somewhat reduce their number of people, including women, and not just women alone. But when we did our own research in WIT, one of the things that we came up with, that was the output or the outcome of the research, was that a lot of women were tended to be employed not necessarily at the cutting edge technology jobs, but in infrastructure related jobs. So when companies go through a sudden unplanned kind of drop in revenues, and when they've already finished exploring other avenues like cutting of the training budgets, right? All of us being from an HR background do understand that whenever such a thing happens, training budgets are first to be cut. So fine, that we do understand. But this was obviously COVID, and Corona was way beyond that. And a lot of these women who were in infrastructure roles were sort of politely being asked to take a break, take sabbaticals. And in addition to that, we also had research which showed that women were finding it extremely tough. Even the highly qualified, highly competent women who had several years of proven, credentials behind them, who in a performance sense were right at the top, right, in their respective organizations, they also kind of approached many of their organizations and managements and said, listen, hey, can we take a 3 month or a 6 month sabbatical? Because they had spouses operating from home, they had in many instances more than one child at home, so it was really really tough on them. So those were the overall broad scenarios which led to the WIT Ignite, literally one of its kind, and it's a career fair. It was beyond a job fair.
Correct.
So this is where I will pause and
Sure.
wait to hear.
So, Aniruddh, Meeta, some of us who are in the domain of talent acquisition and more so in the gender diversity space, we come across this dichotomy where there is this huge need at the end of the employers where they're wanting to hire back women. Also, we see that, when we really go out looking for these women, there is somehow a gap and we don't get the exact match, the skill, and hence this dichotomy is always playing out when we are at the talent acquisition game. So, Anirudh, when we started conceptualizing this event, I remember we had pretty deep conversations around why should the industry leaders come onto a platform like this, and why should the candidates also opt for something, because the job portals are having the jobs always there and there is constant hiring going on. So why choose a career fair over a virtual platform, and why us? So can you give us some of the insights as to what we discussed and how did we curate this entire career event, and why did we call it a career fair and not just a job fair?
Okay, so I see you've asked me several questions, but let me take them one by one. So you're absolutely right. The WIT Ignite was literally one of a kind career fair, and it was not a job fair because typically what tends to happen in a job fair, certainly the physical variety, is that companies put up their stalls and companies really try and amplify their EVP, right? And sort of showcase the kind of jobs, new age careers, stuff like that, right? To the prospective clientele, which of course in this instance, given it was a career fair exclusively for gender diversity for women, that was so. But, this was a career fair and not a job fair, because as the organizers, and you know this as well as I do, and so does Meeta, we, and certainly from my hat of, business development, I was speaking with virtually every, I would say vast majority of the clients that we actually brought to the table, brought onto the career fair. We were equally concerned about the ROI that they would have to deliver. So which means that it was not really about amplification. It was not about getting those 30,000 plus women onto the platform, but it was equally about getting quality candidates such that companies would be able to do at least some level of fulfillment, right? So fulfillment was as much for us on the organizing side. We'd sort of taken that upon us, that onus upon us, saying that, come to us, because this is not just a job fair. This is not just about EVP and amplification. This is equally about helping you fulfill, those positions that you have. And then you asked the other question, which was, why did they sort of come on? Why did they agree to this call? And, in addition to the simple stuff of, EVP amplification, what we did was online, through the social media, we did, ask me anything sessions. We had leadership connect talks, right? We had skilling as a key element and aspect of this career fair. And, while the clients shall remain unnamed, marquee names from the industry who, literally are extremely famous for, their specialized technical courses. So they came on and they spoke about the, how, their courses and the much sought after certifications, right? The women could actually benefit from it. And these sessions were held leading on into the career fair, right? Well before the career fair. So therefore, the women who came onto these platforms, right? They were not just the experienced women. They were the freshers. They were people who were in colleges. So the turnout was huge. And the other thing was, we ensured, and we were always very particular that we wanted the best in class technology. So we selected, our technology platform, which was VFairs, right? So to ensure that under no circumstances would the platform crash out. The technology platform had the capability of, at a time, housing more than 5,000 live conversations, right?
So, and on the day of the event, we saw some cumulative number of 40,000 logins, on the day of the event, which in itself, I think, is the huge that I've heard of so far in the career fair domain in the virtual platform. So I think that gives a lot of credibility to the platform that we chose, and a lot of what we could pull through was also because of the choice of the platform. I'll bring in Meeta here. So Meeta, you've been the backbone behind the entire fulfillment and ensuring that the employers who onboarded with us on this career fair got relevant and skill appropriate profiles, and there was a huge team working with you. Please share your experience, Meeta. How did you plan it? How did you go about it? And what challenges and what all innovative practices you came up with to see through that we did our best when we delivered these profiles to our employers.
Yeah, okay. See, Purba, basically we divided into three categories. One was the community outreach that we were looking at internationally as well as in India. Then we had campus alumni that we were targeting in terms of all the engineering campuses. Then we were looking at the pass outs who could, who's already been to the mid senior talent pool. So we were targeting them as well. Then I think the best part which I felt about our career fair vis-a-vis the others, we had 20 recruiters, team, which we had in terms of hired, especially only for the career fair. So which helped in headhunting, giving the relevant resumes. Because whatever I have been on the call with n number of clients, one complaint which I kept on getting from all the clients, the resumes are not relevant. The people come participate. It could be
Yeah,
fresh.
the career fairs were notorious for pushing in numbers, but the quality of profiles kind of see a dip.
So
So
that's what
I
I
think we
felt.
were very mindful of that aspect.
Yes, yes. So that's what we felt. So, we actually started engaging the recruitment team. Like the event was on 27th November. We started engaging the recruitment team 1 month before. So by the time, the company started putting up their booth on the VFair platform, after one more month, after the platform was closed, 20 recruiters were there till 2 months at least in terms of headhunting, giving the relevant resumes. The idea was to give at least 5 to 10 resumes per position to all the companies. So that's the kind of effort that we did. So yeah, so that I would say. And in terms of the generic profiles also, we had niche. We had a lot of companies who had shared, at a very senior level openings again. So that was quite tough, but then again I would give hats off to our team who went around, did headhunting, and actually give them the relevant profiles again. So yeah.
Absolutely. Also, I would want to bring in the unique aspect of, pulling through such a large event where your vision is to work on the supply side of talent. We kind of collaborated with more than 40 plus women professional communities, which I think went a long way in terms of creating the buzz and bringing in relevant talent onto the platform. And these were all women in technology, women in data sciences, agile virgin, these kind of organization who kind of supported us with relevant women to come on board with us in the career fair, which I
Specific.
think also, yeah, in itself is a unique thing that we did. And when you're trying to create something that big, you can't be just running yourself. You have to take the world along with you. And I think that's what we did. We went out and reached out for help for every quarter that we could have imagined. So
Absolutely.
kudos to the team for that. Anirudh, if you can just share some of the values that we were trying to derive and give to the employers, because as you know that it was not just a job fair, and we genuinely wanted to create a huge supply through this event. And would you throw some light on what kind of values did we thought that we will give our employers who are coming on board with us?
So, thanks for your question, Purba. It was very interesting. We had companies of every hue, right? So
Correct.
we had companies from the highly established names. Again, we shall not name them. People who really do not need, right, any kind of additional brand value.
Correct.
For them, I think it was how could we give them quality resumes so that they could fulfill some of those positions, right? Where they were probably already out into the marketplace and were not able to fulfill, right? As an example, I would tell you that, prior to the career fair for one of those companies, we actually interviewed one of their factory managers, right? And that was very interesting, right? A company which is sort of known for X, right, and not necessarily known for the manufacturing side, they were showcasing, thanks to our platform and thanks to what we had conceived and conceptualized, a factory manager in conversation with one of us, right? And there were similar and many such instances. So I think from a company standpoint, they got sort of what we actually promised them. I'm not saying they necessarily got more. Some of them they might have, and that's really their luck. But the for example, I think whenever we in each of our roles, when we went out to sell, right, the career fair, I think one of the things that stood out for all of us was the authenticity. So I would say that whether it was Meeta or whether it was your team's Purba, the fact that we treated every customer, even a client who had just 5 positions, or a client which had 15 positions, or another which had 25 positions. I think in the way we sort of dealt with them was absolutely the same, right? We ensured that for each of their positions, unless, one was asking for something very, very difficult, right? And, again, I will not name the client, but let's say if you're looking for a female aeronautical engineer with more than 12 years of experience, well, that's not so easy to come by. Let's put it that way, right? But even there, I think we tried. We did our, level best. And then, like I said, I've already mentioned, we had those skilling interfaces. You yourself mentioned we tied up with 41 different, women communities, which ensured that we had the outreach. Because finally, when it comes down to having participants on the day of the career fair, what is extremely critical is how good is your outreach. It's
Correct.
not just about the brands that you're showcasing. It's about also the quality of the stuff that the brands are bringing to the table. So if you ask me, with each of these firms or most of these firms, they gave out their leaders. They were holding sessions prior to the career fair, and that motivated a whole host of women, right? Inspired a whole host of women, which showed them that things are actually not so bad during the COVID times. And there are, more than a motley crowd of 44 companies who are out there waiting to hire them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the presence of the employers on the booth and their ability to engage with the candidates one on one during the day of the event, that weighed in a lot and actually gave in a lot of credibility to what the entire career fair was about. That, hey, look out, these are the companies, those who are hiring, they are looking for women with these kind of skills. And there was so much bleak news going out and in the world, but it is not all that sad. There is hope, and there are positions and jobs, and employers are still hiring at that point in time, right? Meeta, would you want to let us know what was the value proposition that we were trying to create for the candidates also? Because somehow in these large career fair, the candidate experience kind of dips. So just take us through what all did we do to keep the candidate experience up, as well as what value do you think that the candidates would have walked out with when they registered for our fair?
First of all, Purva, we shared an interview prep guide with all the participants who had participated in the career fair. Okay, I think that was very helpful in terms of the companies who were participating. Then this was one career fair which I felt, I think each skill set there was more than one relevant position for the candidates, and
Exactly.
premium aspiration list of clients in the tech, banking, telecom, manufacturing. So that was one key thing which I felt a candidate could come to the VFAIR platform, apply for 5 positions at a different levels, whichever companies he wanted. So I think that was a very specific value addition to the candidates I felt.
And would you want to take us to the candidate experience, the entire rigor that went on the day of the event, as to how did we manage a footfall of 30,000 people walking in and managing the stage and the floor on that day?
I think that was phenomenal. I still remember, and we started the booths at 9:30, and all the companies were there right on time, and the candidates started coming in. The inflow, we thought during the lunchtime it might go less, but no, it didn't. It kept on increasing and increasing until 7 p.m. I still remember. Last, I was sitting on it and chatting, with the candidates, because we had all our WIT members as well, helping the candidates to answer all their queries in the WIT booth, as well as Think Equals also. So, the inflow was continuous, and it was surprising the kind of questions every, candidate was asking the clients. And the clients I am in touch with, Aniruddha is also in touch with, and so are you. So the client's feedback was also, it was so intriguing. Everybody was just enjoying that aspect. So that energy was really there, which I felt, it was like amazing. And then secondly, few companies had obviously informed us that they will be doing the on-the-spot interviews, where they did manage to close few positions. So that was also one, I would say, one point, which at the end of the day, it's the question of fulfillment. So if,
Correct.
you're able to close the position on the day, so that would be the biggest achievement any company would have.
Right. So, in my opinion, that in the coming days, this is the entire landscape of talent acquisition is going to go virtual, and I think it has already moved. And I would also want to understand from you, Anirudh, now that we've gotten a new calendar year, and you're talking to the clients post this entire career fair experience. What is that some of them are talking about in terms of how they see this entire landscape moving? What are the changes and what to expect in the coming year?
So, Purba, very good question. Thank you for asking that. See, the heartening piece for both of us in terms of our organizations, what we do, and what we bring to the table. And I know for a fact that Meeta has spoken to about 14, 15 clients on the fourth, and coincidentally, so did I, but thankfully to different clients. And not a single client, right, told us that in fact everyone said that, listen, diversity positions are top of the agenda or top of priority for them, right? So one good or bad thing which definitely seems to have happened, triggered, and I wouldn't want to draw a very strong correlation with COVID, right, is the fact that gender diversity and its importance, right, is definitely here to stay, right? So that's one. The other significant change which we are witnessing is the fact that in the good old days, it was a very sticky thing. Where is this particular position going to be located? That seems to be increasingly, dissipating. And again, the client shall remain unnamed, but a well-known, reputed technology major is actually now saying that, listen, if you are in Raipur, well, so be it. You stay in Raipur and work. There is absolutely no earthly reason for you to even, sort of come to, maybe the state headquarters where the company might have an office. So I
Absolutely.
think those are definitely, good signs. The other one aspect, and while you have sort of not asked me about it directly, which I want to touch upon in terms of the uniqueness of the technology platform that we chose and the flexibility, more importantly, that it gave to our clients, is that a client who wanted to be extremely planned could have actually started doing their preliminary screening and interviews much prior to the career fair. They could have actually scheduled interviews on the date of the career fair, right? And may have had even a few closures on the day of the career fair. And then there were others who were more focused on the EVP, on in terms of portraying their journey from good to great, right? And who perhaps did not necessarily need to hire in the fourth quarter, but were actually building the pipeline for the first quarter of next year, or let's say the Jan to December sort of months. So I think our platform provided that flexibility to our clients, and it was pretty much
Absolutely.
up to the clients to decide what they wanted to do. So that's another piece
I
which I thought
remember
I'd
in
highlight.
2018 when we had the Career Connect for the first time, it was a bit ahead of its time when every client kind of came to us and said, "Why are you having a, you know, career fair on a virtual platform?" Because it was pretty much ahead of its times, and we had not seen such a career fair. The other value add that I see in in the virtual platform is that um, a physical presence for an interview for any candidate is a bit of an inconvenience at any level and at any given point in time. So that inconvenience has right now been snipped altogether, and the virtual platform has, I think, removed that entire. It has enhances the TAT for any recruitment process.
Yeah,
So
I
that
agree.
is a big plus right now in the entire, speeding up
And
a selection process.
to add
That
to
is
that, you're able to close the position also, basically.
absolutely,
So I think
absolutely.
that's what the companies exactly wants, So the interview setting up, candidates not turning up for the interview, that used to be like a big challenge, as always. But with this virtual, I think a lot of these problems will never be there. That's the best.
Right. So thank you so much, team. I think it was a great learning and experience for all of us. And I'm sure the next time that we get together, it will be a better technology and we'll have better figures to report.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
Purba.
Thanks, Anirudh. Thank you, Meeta.
Bye, Meeta. Bye, Purba.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.